Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a special edition of Agree to Disagree. Today, I'm your host, Jack Casello, and with me, as always, is Dean Gutic and Noah Schwartz. We're doing this. This is a little bit of an impromptu episode. We felt there was a lot to talk about, so we're doing a second episode this week. Unfortunately, Aiden, due to some scheduling conflicts and some classes, he will not be able to join us for this one. But fear not, he will be back for our next episode. We got a lot to cover today. We're going to talk about Fernando Tatis Jr. and his big contract, the big Carson Wentz trade that happened earlier this week, as well as the Nets Lakers, and Osaka versus Serena Williams. But before we get into any of that, make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Also check us out on Spotify. Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Not great. Last night's Laker game sucked.
Pretty good.
Yes. In case anybody's wondering why Noah and I aren't in the same spot right now, we felt we want to keep we like the way the three boxes of work. So I'm downstairs in the quiet room in the apartment building we live in. Okay, let's get started. I think we should start first. We'll start with the most recent news. I'll say let's start with the Nets and the Lakers. So last night, the Brooklyn Nets took on the Los Angeles Lakers in a game that many expect to be an NBA Finals preview. I know Dean doesn't expect that. But
yes, he does.
Unfortunately, I do, but I hope for the first time, I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, this game, although it was a finals preview, it wasn't at full strength as two key players were missing, one from each side. Of course, Kevin Durant did not play, and Anthony Davis did not play. So for what we saw last night, what did you guys see? Did you take any? Was there any key factors that you saw in the game that could be a sign of things to come?
Well, I'm going to take basically nothing from this game as a future sign of what's to come. And one of the things that I think as NBA fans we love to do is when there's these big time games that come up in the regular season, especially when they're between the different conferences, we like to look at them as a measuring stick. Where is this team compared to that team when they face head to head? And what could that potentially mean for a future matchup, whether it's the playoffs or the finals, whatever. And so over the course of time, we like to see how teams progress. So like, for example, the Lakers played the Clippers opening night. In that game, the Clippers clearly were the better team that night. And it showed that the gap between the two teams that we may have thought was there, with the Lakers being the better team, wasn't as big of a gap as we thought. We'll see when they play again the next time if that continues and that trend keeps going. If not, maybe it flips. With this game, you take almost nothing from it. And the reason is Kevin Durant's out, Anthony Davis is out. Now, when we found out a couple days ago that we'd be without AD on one side and KD on the other, I was thinking that maybe we'd be able to take something from this game just because we want to see how Harden and Irving match up with LeBron. Then Dennis Schroeder was put in the health and safety protocols about an hour pregame. And before that, I didn't know that. I didn't know he was going to be out of the game. I didn't know that he had any COVID issues. Once we found that out, then I took nothing because you know why? He's the guy that sets up most of the Laker offense this season. LeBron had that responsibility last year, but this year it's mostly on Dennis Schroeder, and LeBron's sort of the other secondary ball handler. So now you had the Lakers last night, and you had LeBron essentially playing point guard the whole game, and there was almost nobody else who could initiate their own offense. So Alex Caruso played backup point guard. He's not really a point guard. It didn't fit. They didn't have enough offense. They didn't have enough weapons, and they didn't make enough 3-point shots to even be remotely competitive. Brooklyn was hitting threes. Irving and Harden were going anywhere they wanted to get into the basket at will. So I took nothing from this game. If Schroeder was in there, I might think a little bit more about it as for a future matchup. But because there were so many injuries and COVID issues, it didn't really matter to me.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. I mean, both sides had injuries. The Lakers were missing, obviously, AD. Watching the game last night, they're definitely missing AD. Without AD, they have a lack of size. Dwight Howard left in the offseason last year. So did JaVale. No AD. It's a huge blow to Lakers' interior defense. But the Nets were shooting, and they were shooting from all cylinders. Even Joe Harris. Joe Harris had a phenomenal game last night.
TLC was awesome.
Joe Harris was awesome. Carabow had a solid game. Harden and Kyrie did what they wanted. The Nets were shooting perfectly last night. But I wouldn't get ahead of myself saying this is what's going to happen in the final. Both sides had injuries. I mean, I hope it's not the final. Clipper bias in there, but I mean, if I'm the Lakers, I wouldn't be worried. It's just like Clippers Jazz nights ago. I wouldn't worry about anything just yet.
Yeah, and I think the other part of this that we have to mention too, Dean, is, and we talked about this in our last show, there's a lot of moving parts around the league right now. We don't know where Blake Griffin's going to be. We don't know if one of these teams might end up with Andre Drummond. So once the rosters are more finalized, then we'll have a better sense of who's actually going to be on the floor when it matters. But last night, like, Wesley Matthews started and played a ton of minutes. He might get a couple minutes here and there once the games really matter in the finals potentially. But last night he played like 25, 30 minutes. Markieff Morris was out there for a significant period of the game last night. That's not going to happen. Even DeAndre Jordan, because of the Laker issues with their size and AD being out, he actually came off the bench. Chances are he'll be starting when it really matters, especially when AD's back in there. So the rosters are not finalized. The rotations were a little screwed up. It's tough to take much from a game when you really don't even know if half of the guys that were in the game last night will even be playing in a few months from now if they were to meet in a later matchup.
Agreed.
Yeah, definitely. The things obviously it's hard to judge this game, but the main things that I kind of took away from it is kind of when you can really tell, like, you can obviously, like, championship teams, obviously they're going to be good even when they're missing pieces. But I think in a game like this, where both sides are competitive, you can really see what areas teams are lacking in my opinion. So, like, for the Lakers, I think clearly, as we stated, like, without Schroeder, they really do need another point guard. I think they absolutely need to potentially upgrade a backup point guard. Maybe at the deadline, they can also use another big man. I know that Noah's been playing. Noah loves Marc Gasol, in case anybody didn't know.
He actually had a decent game last night, but they need an extra big.
Yeah, they need another big. And clearly, I don't know why they're doing this, but the Nets clearly looks like they don't trust DeAndre Jordan as he came off the bench last night, which really surprised me. I didn't see that coming. I don't think most people did. They've been playing Jeff Green as their tallest guy. That's the Mike D'Antoni effect is really starting to show. But other than that, they got to add some more. The Nets, besides maybe another big man, they also could add some wing defenders. They signed Shumpert, and they just recently signed Robertson. We haven't seen them play yet, but maybe that problem will be fixed once those two guys get in the lineup. But until then, we don't know. But the Nets look very good. Obviously, they're a good shooting team. Harden and Irving are both special. This is a game that I'm sure we'll see down the line, and it could be exciting with both teams at full strength, and especially after the deadline and buyout period. So it's going to be exciting.
And before we move on, guys, congratulations to the greatest, 35,000 points last night. I don't know if any of you or anyone that was watching the NBA 17 or 18 years ago would have ever thought that this man would be at 35,000 points. It is a remarkable achievement. He's the fastest to every single 1,000-point mark that you could be for the youngest guy. So at 1,000, he was the youngest. 2,000, all the way up to 35, youngest player to ever do it. And I actually did the math this morning. I was telling Jack earlier. He needs about 130 games if he averages around 25, 26 a game to get to Kareem. So that could be possibly at the late end of next season, or probably more likely the early portion of the following season. So he'll be in most likely year 20 at that point, but only 130-ish games, and it's not that many if he averages 25 or 26 a game, which he's obviously done his whole career basically. So he's probably going to get to 38 or 39,000 and pass Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for the all-time leading scorer. I think it's one of the most remarkable feats if he gets there in the history of sports. I do.
No, I agree.
Yeah, it's really incredible. To me, Jordan, until LeBron gets me, I don't know about Dean, until he gets ring number 7, to me, Jordan will always be the GOAT. But it's truly incredible what LeBron has done over the course of his career. So
I do agree. I wouldn't say ring 7. Yeah, me and Aiden said this a couple of shows ago. If LeBron gets to ring 6, maybe ring 5, we'll consider. But
I'll say ring 6. Ring 6. I'll be fair. Ring 6.
I mean, it's an incredible feat, and you got guys like LeBron and Brady who are just really durable in their sport that keep going. You got guys like this that are saying Father Time doesn't exist.
Honestly, what happened to it? All right. Speaking of, well, I'm not going to say father time. I'm going to say mother time. Let's switch over to tennis. Let's talk a little bit. We don't normally talk about tennis, but over the past few days, there was a very exciting matchup that took place at the Australian Open. Osaka took on Serena Williams in the semifinals, and Osaka defeated Serena Williams 2-0. Everyone thought Serena looked great coming into this tournament, and that this was her time to win her, I believe, her 24th title to tie her for the all-time record. And after the performance, she had a very nice standing ovation from the crowd, and her press conference she left her career a little bit in question at the press conference. So where do you think she goes from here? And do you think it was her last match?
I don't think it was her last match, but I think eventually her time is going to come. You can even argue now that the torch has been passed. Naomi, we just saw a couple of days ago the present versus the past. Serena Williams, arguably the greatest tennis player of all time, versus the present, the star herself now, and Naomi Osaka. Osaka did everything right in this game.
Great.
Her serves are like a bullet, a laser. Serena Williams missed some of the shots that she usually.
She was bad on the forehand.
Yeah.
A lot of unforced errors. Forehand, as Jack said, was not good.
A lot of unforced errors, but a lot of Naomi had that touch, and especially on her serves, fast. And like I said, this is a passing. I think this is a passing of the torch right here. I think Naomi Osaka is taking the next step.
Yeah, absolutely, Dean. I think not only did Serena realize that she is no longer the best player in the world. I mean, she may have known that already, but I think her eyes were really opened the other day when she looked at Naomi Osaka and just got dominated by her in every way. She probably looked at Naomi and said, this girl's 16 years younger than me. She's 23. I'm 39. I've had a kid. She is the face of tennis. She's so marketable. She's such a great face to have as the person that's going to represent your sport for the next decade or more. And I think Serena finally had to openly acknowledge that. And that's why I think she was kind of emotional after the match with the waving and all that in the press conference. I think she sort of had to realize and come to her senses like, all right, this is her sport now. She's going to win a ton of majors. She's probably going to challenge me for a ton of these records that I have and things that I've done and all these achievements that I've accumulated over my time. She might be able to challenge me in 10, 11, 12 years for some of that. So I thought it was a cool moment. I thought Naomi Osaka, as you guys said, was outstanding the other night. But Serena, for a 39-year-old, she is damn great. I mean, let's just say it the way it is. As great as Osaka was the other day, Serena wasn't bad. I mean, the forehand was a little rough at times, but she's nailing her serve. She's hitting winners. She can get to every single shot that it's put back and forth down the line, to the alley, down the line again, cross court, whatever it is. She's getting there. She's getting to the net. She's doing whatever it takes to be competitive in these matches. And she got all the way to the semifinals, so she's doing something right. But she just happened to meet the best player in the world. And at some point, it will happen to everyone. We thought it was going to happen 2 weeks ago to Tom Brady. It didn't happen. Mahomes didn't play well. The Chiefs ended up losing. But at some point, somebody's going to overtake you. In every sport, it happens always. This may have been the official moment where we realized, all right, this is Osaka's time, and she's going to take off, and her career is going to be legendary.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't agree with you guys more. This wasn't, in a way, also like Noah said, like she dominated Serena. To me, it wasn't even kind of a passing of the torch. It was Osaka taking it from her. It wasn't even like a pass, you know what I mean? But she just went out there and completely outplayed her in every sense of the way. She's an absolute superstar. And Serena had nothing to be ashamed of. Like Noah said, she's 39 years old. To be competing for titles at that age is unheard of. And it's absolutely unbelievable. And nobody's ever going to question Serena's legacy. She, in my opinion, is clearly the GOAT when it comes to that. And I don't think anybody.
She's the GOAT of women's sports. It's not even tennis. It's all women's sports. Yeah. She is the unquestioned greatest. It's not even a question. Not at all.
Unquestioned greatest. She is an absolute icon. And her place in sports history will never be forgotten. So now I want to ask you guys a question. Do you think we saw Serena play her last match? Will she return?
No.
How?
She'll play a few more majors. She might win one.
Yeah.
I want to see her win one more, and I'm really pulling for her to win one more. I don't think she retires after this, but I think
takes a while.
Not that this is the end, but you get what I mean? Like, this is it. The torch has been passed, and now she's just going to play out the rest of her career. And
there's a new phase.
If she's going to win another one, Jack, it's going to be, I wouldn't say a shock, but it would be, wow, how the heck did she happen to do that? You know, that's her overcoming a lot of the odds that are against her. Whereas I think up to this point, she had been so great and she was still so competitive that, all right, we could see it happening. She's still a lot older than everybody else, but it could definitely happen. Now I think, especially the way that she got blown off the court the other day, it would be a holy crap, she's the greatest. How in the world did she pull that off?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there you have it with Serena. Maybe she's going to go for one more title. Who knows? But only time will tell. All right, moving on to baseball. Now, obviously, baseball's in the off season. There's been a very exciting off season. A couple big trades, some big signings. But one signing that came as a surprise, I think, a lot of people. We all knew it was coming. I don't know if anybody thought it would come this early on. But for the San Diego Padres, a team that's had a very exciting offseason, they capped it off very nicely, signing their phenom shortstop, Fernando Tatis Jr., to a 14-year, $340 million contract at 22 years old. What do you guys think of this?
Oh, it's amazing. It's so great. It is. Not only is it great for Fernando, not only is it great for the Padres, and they're going to be awesome for the next decade probably.
Yeah.
Not only that, what it is really great for is the sport of baseball, because they are falling behind. And I saw a stat this morning, and I don't have the number in front of me. I could probably get it. But if you look at it was by division, the way that it was broken up. The amount of money spent in each division this offseason. The NL East was like 400 and something million.
Yeah.
If you looked at one of the Centrals, I think it was like 65 million was spent. I think it was the NL Central. $65 million total spent in the entire offseason in that division. So it goes to show you that not all regions of the country are created equal in terms of what their baseball teams are doing in terms of offseason activity. But the Padres have gone out and they have done whatever it takes to win. And they have said, we are not afraid of you Dodgers. We are not afraid of you Yankees. We are not afraid of you Houston Astros. We're not afraid of anyone. And we're going to go put out a super team, and we're going to go kick some butt this year and for the next decade. And it's great. And one of the things that I hate about Major League Baseball and the way that players have to enter the sport is they don't get properly compensated for more than a half decade. You make basically nothing for your first 3 years. Then you head into this whole arbitration process, which is the stupidest thing ever. I can't stand it. You make a couple million, then you get a few more, then you make some more, and then finally hit free agency after like 3 years in this arbitration system, plus 3 years making $500,000 prior to that.
Most guys are probably 30 when that time comes, and they don't want to pay you.
Exactly. And most guys' careers end with them not even getting a chance in free agency, or if it is, it's a 1-year contract for nothing.
Right.
We should be encouraging teams to spend money on guys like this early on. Don't put Tatis through the ringer for years and years before he hits free agency. He might have an injury. Something might happen. He might fall off in production a little bit, and it may have been worth it to not pay him. But guess what? What you've seen in the first 2 years gives you every indication you need to know that this kid is going to be one of the best players in baseball, and as exciting as he is, arguably the face of the sport in a couple years, right? He is that good and that exciting. Yeah. Why don't you just pay him now? It's time. You've seen everything you need to see, and we should be doing this more. And he shouldn't be the only guy. Juan Soto should be next. Ronald Acuna got his money a couple of years ago when he first came up. We should be doing this all the time when we see guys who are special and transcendent talents. It's not with everybody, but there are certain players that this is worth it for. And Fernando Tatis Jr. to me fits that mold exactly. There is no downside to paying him. If you're a Padres fan, there's no downside to doing this now if you're Tatis, considering you have the long-term security. And it's just great for baseball. They can really market this guy now and say, he is one of our top faces. We want to put him at the front of every single newspaper cover. We want him to be on magazines. We want him to be on television and commercials. You can market a guy when he's making $330 million, way more than you could if he was making $600,000 or $700,000. It's great for baseball. Love this so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, they want to market him. He just got the cover of MLB The Show 21. He's going to be on the cover of that when that comes out. He's making all this money. He's probably, I wouldn't say he's probably a top, I don't want to put his number, probably top 15, top 10, top 15 player right now. To me, I think he's the second best shortstop in the game. I think Lindor has it for now, but I don't think he'll hold that title for long. I give Lindor the edge just because I think he's better defensively. But other than that, like I agree with everything you said. He has become the league's phenom. He's shown so much promise over these couple seasons. The Padres are not afraid. In fact, I saw an interesting thing today. The Padres are the only team I think in maybe the last, it could be ever, or it could be in the last 3 years. They have 2 guys in their roster that are making over $300 million.
No, the Yankees have, because Cole and Stanton.
Oh yeah, 2 like field. I think the field players. Like everything. I saw some down there. With Machado and Tatis, that's an expensive left side of the infield, man.
Plus, Eric Hosmer's making $150 million or so, who's playing first base for you. Plus, you have to spend money on Will Myers. Plus, you just spent to get you Darvish. Plus, you added Blake Snell, who needs to get paid, who's gotten paid already, and he'll probably get paid again in a couple of years. There is no reason that the Padres shouldn't go out and win 100 games this year. I mean, they're going to be loaded.
Yeah, they're not. But the National League's going to be exciting, man. We got some good teams. We got the Dodgers, we got them, we got the Mets, we got the Braves. It's going to be a battle. It's the National League. Whoever wins is going to earn it, man. It's going to be very exciting to see. But Tatis Jr., like I said, he's become the phenom. This is an he absolutely deserves this. And probably for the Padres, probably looking at this as such a win because he's making, I think, around $24 million a year. In a couple of years, say they waited until he was 25, 26 to pay him, he could be worth way more. They may have to pay him like Mike Trout money. So this could be a win for them as of right now.
Right.
Yeah. First of all, I just want to say that for someone like Tatis, that is a low AAV. And not only do I think that the Padres got a good deal out of this, I think Tatis has got a great deal out of this too. The Padres are going to be a really fun team to watch this upcoming season. The NL, you say the NL is going to be loaded. I wish I could say the same about the AL.
The AL is going to be awful. Oh my God.
Yankees conference to lose.
Yeah.
You think, right? You'd think.
It's the AL's just going to be dreadful to watch. But yeah, I mean, the Padres got a good deal out of this, and Noah, you say it best. You want these guys to spend, the baseball to spend, and I do too. But I think this is a great deal for Tatis and the Padres for a generational talent. That's a low AAV right there, and I think the Padres are going to be a fun team to watch this upcoming season. And I really hope they make a run. I would love to see the Padres make a run at it, especially with Tatis, Machado, Hosmer. This is a team that made a lot of moves this offseason. This is the team that made eye-opening moves. The Padres are going to keep growing from here on out. It's just too bad in their division that they got to play the Dodgers. However, I would love for the baseball to market the Dodgers and Padres rivalry even more. That's a rivalry that's going to be growing and growing more and more.
It should, and you're right about that, Dean, because typically it's always Dodgers-Giants, and that rivalry's gone all the way back to when they played in New York City together. But now they've got to pivot, and they've got to understand that they have 2 special ball clubs in that division who are going to be battling it out. And I still think the Dodgers are a much better team.
Yeah.
But the Padres could go win 100 games and win the wild card. I mean, that they have that much talent.
Yeah.
So they've got to you're right. They have to pivot, and they have to understand what type of special rivalry this could become and put that on national television and make sure people understand how great these teams really are.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say like they're probably win 100 games and they can still be the wild card, which is why to me I think every other division it's so crucial of the other 2 divisions. It's so crucial to win the division because when it comes down to one game, Ballard, I want to have to go one game against the Padres. One game
understood. Here's the other thing, though, Jack. You might not need to because we don't know the playoff format.
Yeah, well, I'm saying as if it's normal. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Like, and I agree with you. I think they'll definitely try to market that. Like we said, National League. I think it's going to have they have a lot of nice teams right now. I'd say probably right now, like everyone's talking Nets and Braves there. They're probably the third and fourth, whichever way you want to order it. I figure they can market something around those 4 teams very heavily this upcoming season.
Yeah. I just want to make one more point, and this is a great point that Dean made. I just want to add to it. You mentioned the annual average annual value, Dean, with I think it's 24-ish million per season for Tatis.
Yeah.
So here's the crazy part about this. As much as we're like, wow, that's a lot of money. He's getting a ton of money. You know that in the NBA, like guys like Jeremy Grant are making $20 million per year. I mean, just think about that. Is Jeremy Grant the 50th best player in the? He's having a great year. Is he the 50th best player in the league? Maybe. He's making $20 million per season.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, this year he's balling, so he's worth every.
But there are a lot of guys out there who are far less valuable than Fernando Tatis Jr. is in his sport that are making $24 or more million per season. Gordon Hayward, who I really like, most people don't like that contract. He's making what, $30 million per season?
Something like that.
And he's like a fringe all-star.
He's also playing good.
So I'm just saying, it's tough to really make it in baseball. And I understand the long-term security. You get that more in the major leagues than you do in the NBA and in football. But it's funny to see that these guys who are making the most amount of money get less money per year, which if you compare that to the other sports, those guys are making a ton of money every year and they're cashing out when they have the chance to. So it's an interesting comparison, the way that baseball has operated recently and the way that the other sports do.
Yeah, absolutely. And congratulations to Fernando Tatis Jr. Absolutely deserving of it. And this just makes me sad. This is a 14-year contract, and at the end of it, the Mets will still be paying Bobby Bonilla.
We might be married, though, Jack.
Yeah, possibly. All righty. Moving on to our last discussion, the big one, the NFL. Big trade.
Yeah, baby. Woo!
If you checked out our Instagram page this week, you saw Noah and I went live and we talked about it. Carson Wentz is finally out of Philadelphia, and he is headed to Indianapolis to be reunited with Frank Reich. Noah and I, Dean, I'm going to start with you because Noah and I have already shared some points on this. We absolutely love this trade. What are your thoughts on it?
First of all, I texted you guys, and I've said this before on the show, this is the best fit possible. This is the best scenario possible. All the stars were aligned, and the final star came, and Carson Wentz went to the Colts. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better situation if you're Carson Wentz. The best O-line in football. Solid weapons in Michael Pittman. Even Mo Alley Cox is a solid tight end.
Still there.
Yeah. You know, you got the Marlon. Is Marlon Mack a free agent?
Yeah, but they have three other backs. I mean, Hines and Wilkins.
Jonathan Taylor. They have Hines. They have an offense that he can work with. And on top of that, you have Frank Reich, the offensive guru. Not Adam Gase, Jack.
Damn it, who knew?
Sorry. And the best part is, even though he obviously he's the quarterback, he has a great defense that can help him take the burden off his shoulders. This is the perfect team for Carson Wentz to go to. This is a Colts team that is going to be solid next year. You got the AFC keeps getting better. You got the AFC South. The Colts and Titans are going to be duking it out. You got other teams like the Bills, the Chiefs, and the Browns, even the Ravens. This makes the AFC better, and it makes the AFC more fun. But this is the best scenario possible for Carson Wentz, and I'm really happy for him. I think Frank Reich is going to revive his career, and I think Frank Reich is the reason why Carson Wentz was good at that time with the Eagles instead of Doug Peterson.
I want to add one point to what Dean said. I agree with absolutely everything you mentioned. There's one part of this that I don't even think Jack and I did enough justice on yesterday when we talked on our Instagram Live. Chris Ballard plays a huge role in this.
No, I mentioned Chris Ballard.
We talked about it a little bit, but I want to just expand on it more. What Chris Ballard has done since he became the general manager of the Colts has been nothing short of sensational. And he's going to help Carson Wentz immensely. And one of the reasons why Carson Wentz failed in Philadelphia was because, and I like Howie Roseman for the most part, but he has not done a good job drafting recently. And we talked a lot about that, Jack. He has failed Carson Wentz draft-wise. With the receivers they picked the last couple of years, the left tackle they picked with Dillard, I mean, they just did not do a good job drafting. Chris Ballard has nailed the draft ever since he became the Indianapolis Colts general manager. Every year.
Solid players.
Even last year, when they didn't have a first-round pick because they traded it for DeForest Buckner, they still picked Michael Pittman in, I believe, the second round, and Jonathan Taylor as well. So they nailed it on offense with those two selections. And then they've added guys on defense, like Darius Leonard the year before. They are really good drafting. What'd you say?
I say even Blackman's turned into a stud.
Right, at safety, absolutely. So they have done a phenomenal job in April on draft night every single year. And I assume that's going to continue. I would see no reason why it wouldn't. And that'll help Wentz because not only does he have a good team now, but they can set him up to have a good team into the future where he can thrive, not just this season, but in the next half decade or more for as long as he'll be in Indianapolis.
Yeah, and I just want to go off your guys' points. It's absolutely 100%. Everything you said is true. Like you definitely said, Chris Ballard has done an absolutely phenomenal job since he took over. Frank Reich, I believe, like Dean said, I agree. He was the reason that Carson Wentz had a lot of success early on. And it's funny you mentioned that because when you look at this Colts team, they're built very similar to how that Eagles team was that year they won the Super Bowl. They got a strong, three-headed monster attack at running back. They have a good young defense with playmakers in Buckner and Leonard. They have a great O-line led by Quentin Nelson. The only area that I think there's two things they should concern themselves with this offseason mainly. I think they gotta get a new left tackle because I think Costanzo retired. So they got to figure out what they're going to do there, and they gotta upgrade the weapons a little bit. I mentioned this on our live. I think, if you didn't mention it on our live, I definitely mentioned it with Noah. I can definitely see them bringing Zach Ertz in to reunite with Carson Wentz, to still be the Carson Wentz. They can definitely use a tight end upgrade, and that's really all you got to do. They can definitely be a contender, and they can compete with the Chiefs, and it's going to be very exciting to see. But the biggest question is now, well, not the biggest question for the Colts. The Eagles in this trade, they acquired a third rounder and a second rounder that could become a first round pick if Carson Wentz plays 70% of the snaps. Where do you think the Eagles go from here?
I mean,
I don't know.
They're in a deep hole, so it's really hard to tell with that team. I mean, I want to say draft weapons, but knowing the Eagles' luck of that, I can't really get ahead of myself. It's really hard to tell with an Eagles team. They're in a really bad situation right now. And I believe they're taking the largest dead cap hit out of anybody.
Good point you mentioned that. I just got an alert on my phone 5 minutes ago. Deshaun Jackson is likely going to be released. He sent an Instagram post saying goodbye to Philadelphia. So they'll probably take dead money on that too, I have to assume.
Yep.
So Deshaun Jackson is out, and he's probably their best receiver at this point.
Yeah. He's played in like 5 games in the last 2 years, right? Something like that.
You got Deshaun Jackson leaving. Carson Wentz's dead cap hit's going to be brutal for the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are in a really tough position. You can't. These guys have their hands tied behind their backs.
Yeah.
And the coach is a complete mystery. I mean, if you watch the introductory press conference, I mean, it was a disaster. That was Adam Gase level awful. So I'm not sure where the Eagles go from here. And I said this to Jack yesterday, and I think it's important to mention again, not only are the Eagles a train wreck, but they play in a division where even though it's bad, everybody else is improving. Nobody else is getting worse. I mean, at least the Cowboys, they're going to have Dak back. They'll be better than they were last year, I think. You know, the Giants are building something, and Joe Judge has done a great job. And Washington, they don't have a quarterback right now, but they just won the division without a quarterback. So they're getting far better, and their defense is awesome. So the only team that's decreasing and getting rid of talent rather than adding talent is Philadelphia. Yeah. So they're going to be in the basement in the worst division in football. I mean, they may be the worst team in the NFL next year. That's how bad they look. And who knows what they do from here? I mean, Fletcher Cox is still there. Could they let him go? Ertz, you mentioned, is going to be gone. And this may be Miles Sanders and a bunch of scrubs next season. Who knows?
They're going to have to let go of their talent, whatever they have. I mean,
yeah, they got
This is like I said, this is it for Philly. You don't know where they're going from here. The Giants have a bright future. The Cowboys hopefully they have Dak back. I mean, after that, I hope Dak gets more leverage. And you got Washington. I love how you say they had no quarterback. They had obviously the greatest Taylor Heineke.
Oh my God.
But no, I'm just kidding. But the Washington's that team to me that's a quarterback away. So there's also that. The NFC, you have teams above Philadelphia. I don't think Philadelphia's gonna go anywhere. They're screwed for years to come.
Yeah. Well, Dean, would you draft somebody? Because I don't think drafting a quarterback right now is the right answer. And I'm not even a Jalen Hurts fan. I wouldn't
draft a quarterback. I liked what I saw from Jalen Hurts. I'm not gonna be fully sold on him yet. I thought a sneak peek of him was good. But here's the thing: when the Saints played Jalen Hurts, they didn't have really tape on him. So you can even make the case these teams are going to figure out Jalen Hurts. And
I agree.
I don't think I love Jalen Hurts. However, teams are going to figure him out. I don't think they should draft a quarterback. I think it's more so the offensive side, whether it's O-line, weapons. They need to focus on the offense first.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But it's kind of interesting. and the reason I don't even think they're even headed in the right direction still, because I know Noah likes him, but I think their GM is horrible, and they kept him for one more year, which I think is an absolutely horrible decision.
Look, I'm not going to defend him, Jack. I'm not going to defend him now, but
what?
I'm not going to defend him for what he's done right now and in the last couple of years, but I mean, he built up that team. Like, they don't have a Super Bowl win without Howie Roseman, so he deserves credit for that, I think.
I agree.
Yeah,
that's why I wouldn't have fired Doug Peterson. I thought that was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I just don't like. I agree they shouldn't have fired Doug Peterson, but if you're going to fire Peterson, I think they should have fired both of them together. That's just my opinion. I don't know.
If Doug Peterson goes, then Howie Roseman should have went with him.
Exactly.
I just felt that it was one bad season. They've been in the playoffs each of the last few years. They had one bad year. It was a disaster. I get it, but that's telling whatever coach you bring in that, hey, you have no ability to suck for a little while, and we won't support you, and you'll be gone before we win. And you can't do that. You can't give a coach no leeway. I mean, he has to have some wiggle room to struggle, especially after you win a Super Bowl. You should be given time to either get back to another Super Bowl or at least continue to build in the right direction. And they fired Doug Peterson and basically just forgot about what all he had accomplished, which to me was just a joke. I don't know. I get it. I understand firing them both together makes some sense, but I'm not going to bash the Eagles with their coaching staff or front office for what they did, because at the end of the day, there was 31 other teams that didn't win a Super Bowl, and they did. So,
yeah, it's all fair points. It's just really.
I feel bad for them.
When it comes to that, it's just simply that's just a matter.
It shows, but it also shows what you just said, and this is dating back to a couple episodes ago. No one wants to go to Philly. There's a lot of pressure for a coach to step into Philly. It's like, hey, we had one bad season. You're out of here. It just shows the amount of pressure that you have going to Philly. I mean, listen, they did have one bad season. You can argue that they shouldn't have made the playoffs the other past seasons. Granted, the year before the division was also terrible, but it just shows, who wants to go to Philly. Bad situation. You get fired for one bad season. The fans are brutal. The culture in Philly right now is toxic.
Yeah.
And Dean too, the quarterback. Nobody wants to be the Eagles quarterback. They don't support the quarterback because at every turn they backstab him. I mean, they did it to Carson, obviously. I mean, a lot of this stuff was on the Eagles. They were the ones who allowed this whole Nick Foles issue to blow out of proportion and to come in and where he was the hero and nearly take Carson's job a million times. And then they went out and drafted Jalen Hurts as soon as Carson had just won them the division. It made no sense. So if you're not going to support your coach, you're not going to support your GM, you're not going to support your quarterback, who do you support? Those are the most important people in your franchise.
Yeah, they're just completely out of it right now. And I remember I was laughing. I specifically was telling Noah. I remember when they were in the hiring process, I saw they were requesting to interview like guys like Lincoln Riley, Josh McDaniels. Like, nobody respects you right now. Why? And Lincoln Riley doesn't even want to go to a respectable franchise. Why is he going to go to you? That just made me laugh so much when I saw stuff like that, and I was dying.
So they're going to sign a quarterback, guys, because I did see a report yesterday. They're going to bring in some experienced guy to, I guess, compete with Jalen Hurts, or maybe to back up Jalen Hurts. I'm not exactly sure. I'm assuming they're going to pass in the draft, though. But if they were to, no, but if they were to bring in a veteran, like who would you recommend?
Fitzpatrick.
Oh, really?
Fitzpatrick's a good bridge quarterback. I thought Fitzpatrick did a great job in Miami.
Oh, because I would have said that, but here's the thing with me. My problem with Fitz, not a problem, but just one thing that I think is tough with Fitz is that he's going to have a few games every season where he just goes berserk, and then he has those other games where he looks awful. And if Jalen struggles, obviously they want to make it work with Jalen Hurts because he's the guy they spent all this draft capital on, and they invested a lot in him. If he comes out and Fitz has one of those magical games where he throws for 400 yards and they win and they just upset somebody they shouldn't beat, then all of a sudden Jalen Hurts' confidence is shot. I feel like you want to have someone that can come in and I don't want to say show up Jalen Hurts, but it's just, I don't know. There's something about Fitz where it's like with Tua last year, everybody criticized when Fitz got pulled. And I feel like that's not the right situation. You want to build confidence in your own quarterback, not make him lose confidence. That's just me though.
No, well, to me, that's a different situation because also, Tua clearly wasn't ready, and also the Dolphins were playing well. The Dolphins were playing well, so I think he shouldn't have been pulled in that sense. They were, I think, what were they, 4-3 when they pulled them? If they were like 1-6.
Yeah, I believe so.
If they were like 1-5 or 1-6, then okay, you can pull them and then you can go in and come to the States. With this Eagles team though, they're not expect. I think they're going to be even worse than they were last year. I have zero confidence in them this year. Might as well not throw, and especially I don't believe they trust Jalen Hurts to be the guy. If they did, I feel like they wouldn't have looked at Nate Sudfeld in that last game if they had confidence in him. So I can totally see Fitz coming in here competing for the job, and Philly, they don't expect losing. I don't think they're going to be one of those teams that truly is tanking. So I think they're going to go out there and they're still going to try and win. And I think Fitz gives you the best chance to do that.
I mean,
I see your point. I don't know. It's tough though because
and those fans.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I feel like maybe someone who's a little bit more low key might be a better fit, like a Marcus Mariota or somebody.
Matt Barkley. No, I'm just
No, he's gonna come in and score 50 on you in the first game and then suck for the rest of his career.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I'm trying to think. I think Marcus Mariota might be somebody that I would recommend.
Well,
Andy
Marcus
Dalton,
Mariota-
if you wanted to come from Dallas.
Maybe if the Bears are trying to upgrade quarterback, maybe they go back to Nick Foles.
Oh no, but actually Trubisky wouldn't be a bad fit.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right, we'll see. We'll see what they do. We know they're going to bring in somebody though.
Jalen Hurts. But all right, I think that's all we got. Do we want to do winners and losers?
Sure, we can do one.
Sure.
All right, so I believe you guys are the winners this week, so might as well just do another one.
All right, I'll start with the winner. My winner is the Mets. This morning they nailed it with their last starting pitcher, Tajuan Walker. They brought him in this morning, 2 years, $20 million. I think there's a player option on a third year, so that's good. He had a pretty nice season last year. Was in Seattle early in the year. Was there for like 5 starts. Pitched decently well. Was a trade chip. Dealt him to Toronto, where he had an ERA under 2 down the stretch of the season. And so he's coming off Tommy John surgery from a couple years ago. He was a pretty highly valued prospect coming up. He came to the big leagues at like 20 or 21. He's only 28. He's still got a lot of untapped potential, and this will be his second full season past Tommy John surgery. So I expect him to be really good. And he's going to slot right into a rotation where at the beginning of the year, he'll probably be the 4th starter, which he might be the best 4th starter in all of baseball. And then once Syndergaard comes back, maybe May or June, he then becomes probably the 5th starter. And that's unbelievable to have him as your 5th starter. He's really, really good.
To be honest, he'll probably actually move to the bullpen because the 5th starter is probably going to be our lefty.
Right, that too. So you might have a long man, or maybe you'll use a 6th starter or an opener or something to sort of figure out your way through the season. Possibly. But either way, I mean, the Mets got a steal, I think, with a guy who has a lot of room to grow. He's definitely not at his ceiling yet. He hasn't had a lot of experience because of all the injuries that has piled on. But I love the signing for the Mets. They missed out on Trevor Rosenthal for their bullpen a couple days ago, but this was a way to rebound. And I'm not sure if another big move is coming, or at least somewhat of a splash before the end of the offseason and the season begins. But if this is how it ends for the Mets with their offseason spending, this was a great way to cap it off.
Yeah. All right, I'll go next up. My loser is probably got to be after the Carson Wentz trade. It's got to be the Chicago Bears. Because the Chicago Bears have been looking to upgrade at quarterback, and I feel like they didn't want to pay a lot of value for one. I think Carson Wentz was a clear upgrade that you didn't have to give as much value up for. So I think this is a big loss for them. And now if they want to get a quarterback and get them into the playoffs, they really got to pay for one.
I think Darnold might go there, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not that. To me, going into that's not a huge upgrade. That's all I'm saying. That's why I don't think it's great.
I was going to say my quick loser is Deshaun Watson, because he's probably looking right now saying, can someone please get me out of Houston? Carson Wentz went from Philly to Indianapolis. Matt Stafford went from Detroit to LA. Meanwhile, Deshaun Watson is stuck in Houston.
So he has no power, no heat, and the team is awful. What a rough week for Deshaun Watson.
That poor soul.
that Houston, man, that's a rough city right now.
We got Robert Saleh over here. We got power. We got heat. MetLife Stadium's got some nice heat. Just come.
I don't like this right now. No, do not go to the AFC East.
Come on, just come.
No, this is illegal.
It's not tampering.
It is. You're tampering with the guy who went to Clemson.
We agree. We are agreeing to disagree on this, Dean.
Yes, Matt Milano's leaving, Dean. I'm just playing. All right.
Please don't tell me that again.
All right, that is all we got for today. This has been a special edition of Agree to Disagree. I'm Jack Acello. With me is Dean Gutic and Noah Schwartz, and we will see you guys next time.